this on the camera. A consistent problem that I always face, is not looking at the camera. The thing that I'm fiddling with now is for a good reason, but the shit that I'm fiddling with over here is not for a good reason. I have to find something to do with all of my nail polishes. I don't know where to put them, but anyway, before I get too far into the video, this is the first August member video. This is the Sprouts video. So, if you are not aware, I launched membership features on this channel back at the beginning of April. I believe it was either April 1st or March. Like, very last day of March, the 31st. I think so. But regardless, I launched two tiers. The first one is the Sprouts tier, and Sprouts pay 99 cents per month in order to get access to custom emojis, a badge, possible early access on videos whenever I get them sort of done before I thought I would. I give people early access. When I went on my most recent trip to British Columbia, just not last week. Yeah, it was last week. This is what I mean. I had a couple of videos that were like ready to go, and I just gave early access to members before I wanted them to go up. And then there is a shout out video every month where I shout out all of my members. I repeat their names a couple of times, and I do a little progress update because the membership features are all going towards the purchasing of a Blue Yeti microphone for this channel. There is also mentions of all of my members at the end of every Trigger Word Tuesday video, and then this video, the Sprouts monthly video, which has now historically been me just asking for suggestions. If I ever have video ideas on my mind, I plan to kind of use those as possibly 1 month a Sprouts video might just be, my phone is popping off here, one of those videos might just be like me polling all of you for suggestions or something like that. I put that on airplane mode. I did not put it on do not disturb mode. There we go, thank you. I should really just do that before every one of these videos, but say like I'm really thinking, oh, I want to do this video or that video. I could possibly one month make the Sprouts video, like, do you want to see this one or do you want to see that one? Although, like I said, historically I haven't, because, I don't know, just because I haven't. Maybe it's laziness, who knows. But that being said, there is a second tier, the Flowers tier. The Flowers have access to everything the Sprouts do. The exception is that Flowers get videos like this per month, and those ones will always be like suggested videos. I won't ever make it like you only have 2 options or that kind of thing. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I considered briefly doing like an Instagram account or something, but I am not good at social media, so honestly I would probably just end up announcing it to everybody, and then you all would get like a post every 6 months. Very likely. If that, probably once a year. When I did have Instagram, I would only post once a year, I think. But anyway, that all being said, I'm going to do this again because it was really successful for the July videos. If you are in my flat ideas, you feel free to suggest video ideas in this comment section, in the comment section of the members only post that I made, just so that if you have any ideas, they're out there. They are sort of just available for you to suggest and comment. I know YouTube doesn't do a fantastic job of pushing my posts to people, so it's something that I'm possibly considering, like doing just a dedicated video at the start of the month, where, like, if I see member comments on that video, then I'll do those. But well, we'll see. If nobody has any ideas, I have contingencies. Do not worry. But I am here to talk to you about the Sprouts August video, and this video is kind of dual topic. Probably June, probably June, who was my first signed up member, in, like, when I launched it, like, literally, you were so on the ball. Like, I am never on top of things that much, but you became my first member, my first Sprout, and you have suggested for me to ramble about the things that I cannot get off my mind, my Roman empires, perhaps. And I think the first thing that you might guess would be is the plants. The plants, the plants, the plants, the plants. I love these things. Specifically my plant nerds, specifically my alocasias. I know it's alocasia, but please, I just like the word alocasia better. I, like, just off screen, you can ever so slightly see it if I use my flashlight. Here, I wonder, there, you can kind of see, so that sort of dark green leaf that is beside this leaf, so actually I can grab it, this leaf right here, that belongs to my Alocasia Regal Shield, that I am quite attached to, that is hopefully going to be putting up another leaf pretty soon. It's around the time for it. My Alocasia Jacqueline is over there. If you watch my room tour, you would know what shelving unit I'm talking about, but it's sort of a blonde wood shelving unit. I got it at the Bay. Very fancy. Sorry, you can see all of my messy hair. Then this guy, of course, my Alocasia Frydek. This is a new leaf that the Frydek put out, which I am very, very happy about. This guy right here is my goldfish plant. My poor embattled goldfish plant. That thing has been trying to put out shoots forever, but it's never to bush out. It always just wants to expand upon its, like, straggly branches, and I keep pruning it. Like, to no success. I haven't watered it in probably about a month, and it's still alive. It's still growing. I have no clue how to troubleshoot that thing, but I mean, it's kind of a legend at this point. We have my golden bone. We have my golden bone Alocasia, the one that you all get to see. I'm gonna keep that in. We'll see, because it's funny. So you have my golden bone Alocasia. I really need to wipe off the leaves again. Back up here, you have here's another mispronunciation. Pothos. I like pothos better than I like pothos. That is, I thought it would die at some point. It still hasn't. I get pothos are like that though. I have my philodendron squamiferum here. My philodendron squamiferum. I should make a video about it, because it's a really cool little because I don't think it's the medium that it is in is not good. It is an epiphyte, which is a plant that sort of grows attached to another plant. At least that's how a lot of them grow in the wild, and it needs... Oh, that's rain. It's very heavy rain. Give me 1 second. Gardener's intuition is always right. The rain wasn't the issue. The water was the wind was the issue. I went outside to look, and my coleus plant has 2 branches that have been snapped. That's 3 this year. It's growing really, really well, so it'll grow back in, I'm certain, but I had to move it. And then I'm putting the branches that fell apart in water. I just filled the watering can and stuck them in for the night, and then tomorrow I'll probably end up like trying to propagate them or something because they're so cute. And it would be kind of cool to have like an indoor coleus plant. Anyway, plants, Roman Empire, constantly thinking about it. It's very appropriate for this video. But anyway, I think I was telling you, this is my philodendron squamiferum, this is my coffee plant, there's my metanilla magic, which I need to repot. It's not happy, and I want to get it happy again. This plant is a plant that I rescued. You kind of get to see it a little bit cut off in these videos, but it's so old. I don't know, I have a name for it, but it looks a lot like one of those zebra succulents. I'm not going to lift it up just because there's one piece that might snap off, so it's content where it is. And then, of course, the Hawaiian palm, which is finally getting tons of leaves again. Its growth was a little bit stunted because of a spider mite infestation. But here is the interesting thing. The new leaves that it's got coming in, they're coming in quite large, which is a good sign for that thing. For those leaves, like it tells me that those leaves are wanting to grow larger, which tells me that it's recovering a little bit. Maybe not fully just yet, but I'm happy either way. It has sat by my bedside for so long. It's probably my baby, other than the Friedeck. I love it. I just love it so much. So much. So, that is sort of the one thing that is always on the mind. Like, if I ever happen to end up in like a home sense or anything, I'm looking for a pot. If we're near a garden center, I'm like, wanna go. Anything like that, I'm thinking about it. I'll be thinking about how to propagate something. I'll be thinking about cuttings. I'll be thinking about like getting a neighbor's plant that is not healthy so that I can see. Like, anyway, there was more wind. I thought I heard somebody calling, but no, we cool. But yes, I have taken on probably like multiple plants at this point that have been dying, and then I am either hospice for them or they survive. This one is hospice from my mom. This one is hospice from my mom. There I have a Chinese evergreen that I am currently trying my very best to recover. There was the Alocasia nebula Elaine that was like right here on this dresser that unfortunately did pass away, but it wasn't vigorous enough. I don't think it was just, it couldn't support itself. So that just is how it is sometimes. And then the goldfish plant is, at one point that thing was going in the garbage, and then I decided to chop it way back, and then it started growing again, and I was like, well, maybe I'll keep it. And at this point I'm too invested. So that is number one of sort of the things that are constantly on my mind. Number two is really hard to quantify because was a kid, but I adore writing. Like, when I was a kid, I think the journal is downstairs actually, but when I was young, like from grade 1 up until grade 4, I was in a Montessori school, and there was, if you're not like totally plugged into that, I don't blame you. It's very out of the ordinary, kind of, but in the sort of idea of like Montessori parenting and Montessori schooling is that a child is an empty vessel that is constantly looking to be filled. And so it is the adult's job to sort of approach parenting and the child's education. And this is theory, obviously. The theory is that it's the parent's job to approach the child, parent the child, educate the child with that in mind. So letting them branch into the things that they would like to do, letting them figure things out, their exploration, and facilitating that so that you are constantly pouring into the vessel that is the child, essentially. In Montessori school, this was when I lived in Ontario, I very often would be in that school, and we would be doing something for that day that was like science. So what we would end up doing is the school was quite near, not to like a forest, but it's like an urban forest. If you've ever lived in suburbs, you understand what I'm talking about, where like there will be planned green space that is kept wild. And so like for the times that we would learn about life cycles in the Ontario science curriculum, it would just be us going out and finding examples of life cycles out in like the natural world. So one of the kids who would be driven into the Montessori just from like 15 minutes away lived on a farm, and they had chickens. And that one year, it was just like, we're gonna track the chickens, and we're gonna go out to his house, to his farm, and we're gonna figure out what's going on with the chickens, and then we come back, and then we talk about it, and we talk about life cycles, and we read a book, or we were one of the first schools in the area that had a computer for every child, mostly because it was a very small school. They did split grades, so when I was in grade 4, it was a grade 3-4 class split. There were 4 of us in grade 4, and there were, I think, 8 of them in grade 3, something close to being along those lines. And so, of course, the computer for every child is not necessarily very impressive, because there was potentially 50 students at our school. Even less than that, who would be using a computer. Like, I'm talking a computer for 2, 3, 4, and then all the way up to grade 8. Because Ontario didn't do junior high school. It would just go elementary until grade 8, and then grade 9 you're in high school. We also used to have a grade 13, I think, for in the 90s or something like that, but it went away far past far before the point that I got into school, or where I would even be thinking about grade 13. But anyway, so this being said, once we would come home from the chickens, or whatever it was, we had the opportunity to read books, to play these little online games that my teacher would find, to do things with MS Paint, like painting chicken life cycles and shit like that. It's that structure, because it takes into account, it's very good for kids with ADHD, something that I was never diagnosed in, because that methodology of schooling just spoke to me. And then when I went into public schools in grade 5, it was a steep learning curve on, like, from it being so self-guided to then it being so prescribed to me. Didn't really jive very well. But then by grade 6, the skills that I had learned in Montessori, weirdly enough, helped me take to the more prescribed situations in public school. So very interesting. This could also be another Roman Empire, to be honest. But this is all to say that this school also was very focused on getting us creative, making sure that we were sort of staying sharp academically and then also creatively, and that manifested as us getting to do, like I say, digital art projects if we wanted to. This manifested as us creating sculpture work or using clay or doing something. It was all education focused, though. For example, we would do like geometrical shapes. The other thing that a lot of Montessori schools do is that when I was in grade 4, I was learning Ontario grade 6 curriculum, because that's just kind of the philosophy they had there, and being in it since grade 1, I was quite far ahead. So, like, there would be a couple of students when we were doing geometry who would take little things of clay, toothpicks, and figure out, okay, how do I get whatever measurements at the time, I can't remember, but they would be doing that. I would be working on paper. I never did a lot of work on paper. But anyway, so one thing that we had to learn was storytelling and the importance of storytelling. Now, it was super cool because my teacher in grade 3 and 4, I had the same one, from going from grade 3 to grade 4, it was kind of cool because she had journal time, and what you could do for journal time is you could either read and write about what you were reading, or you could simply write and demonstrate that you knew the goal of storytelling and the function of it to your teacher. I loved writing. I like creative writing, story writing. I liked writing summaries of things. Book reports were like my favorite thing to do in Montessori, and then I quickly hated them in public school because it was just, there were a lot of things being asked that I was just like, I don't care, I want to tell you how I feel about this book, which again is something that a lot of Montessori students struggle with going into the transition to public school if they ever make it. I am so happy I got to see both sides of it, the pros and cons of Montessori, and then the pros and cons of public school. In fact, I think I would have liked Montessori school up to about grade 6, and then I think if I would have longed for public school, I think just the environment of grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I liked a lot better in public school, at least depending on how I saw them, sort of compared and contrasted to what Montessori would have looked like, of course never taking it, but I like both of them. But anyway, this is to say, after a fucking 7-minute rant, that in this journal time, I wrote so many creative stories and so many little summaries, and this translated to nowadays. Like when I was in high school and then into university, I loved writing, essay writing, creative writing. I don't give a shit. Poetry. It's all fun to me. I love writing a lot. When I was a kid, I briefly sort of toyed with the idea of being an author. mostly because I have trouble committing to things long term. Another thing that I have discussed at length on this channel. So you will see if anybody would have access to my OneDrive, which nobody ever will. Ever. I swear to God. The day that I get a husband, all that is going on a USB and I'm locking it away somewhere. But I have like probably about 30 different started documents or living documents that are dedicated to writing. 10 of those are probably about like the first chapter of, again, 10 different books that I would enjoy, I would love to write. Another 10 of those are probably like poetry and stuff like that, and another 10 are like essays and things like that. It's probably more like 27 or so, and the poetry is far less than the stories and the essays, but it just, I don't know, there is something about the way that I think that often I will go through something and think, I need to write this down, or often I will have a moment and I would be like, this would make a fantastic story, or I wish I could write this. The other thing that I find a lot is that if I don't write something down, I lose it. I lose the perfect way to say it, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes this has happened to me before when I've written like the first chapter of something, say, and then I lose it and I redo it. I always like the redone version of it a lot better. It's just odd that way. My essays are probably the most fun. The essays are the things that I finish the most of, I would say. Like, I've got, I have 2 mammoth projects ongoing. This YouTube channel specifically, this YouTube channel I would say is a Roman Empire of mine. I check my YouTube Studio app at least 4 times, 5 times a day to look for comments and things like that. But, what was I going to say? Oh, there are 2 mammoth projects that I have that I would love to turn into like Lindsay Ellis style video essays one day, where one of them is about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and just the trash fire that those are, coming from a lifelong Pokemon fan who has been with the series for a very long time at this point. And then the other one is about the Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, my most personally hated book of all time. I have easily probably about 20,000 words written about the Olivia Blake book that I could go on a rant about right now, but I'm not going to. And then Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I probably have about 10 to 12,000 words written about, also kind of tearing it to strips, but I love stuff like that. The other project that I'm really, really impressed about myself about is, I don't know why I did this, but one day I was thinking I needed to, it was during about writing poetry, and then I realized that I was writing poetry about a song that I liked, and then I started writing like a thing about that song, and then I just decided to start a new document, and I wrote, it's probably up to about 15 essays about my favorite songs of all time, and why they are, and what they mean to me, and I don't have anybody to show that to, but it's there, and I love coming back to it, because it's also interesting, because that document has been alive for probably about 2 years now, and as I add to it, it's cool to see the way that I have changed in the ways that I haven't changed also. And then, yeah, there's just, like, I could go on and is what you would call it, world that I have created in my head that I would absolutely love to run a campaign centered around. I'm not going to go into it here. If we want to hear something like that, it's not personal, like, really, but I tend to get embarrassed easily about things like this, so it's a possibility that I talk about it one day, but I don't know. That may be the point in time where I make a video members only, although I'm very uncomfortable with doing that, so we'd have to think about it and talk about it, but a lot of my writing is very, very, very personal, and I would like to only let certain people into that, if that makes sense. But anyway, I fully, fully, fully adore Dungeons and Dragons. I have all of the books that are not like campaign books, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have Icewind Dale. I don't have Tiamat's. Oh shoot. Like all of the ones that come with a pre-baked campaign in them, or like a pre-made story in them. I don't take to those. I like doing the creative work on my own, not to knock anybody who does like those campaigns, because they are classics in their own right of storytelling and all that kind of stuff. But I have every like magic items book, Tasha's Cauldron book. I need to look at them all again, but the monster manual ones, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, the Spelljammer. I bought this set of the Spelljammer books. But I just love everything about Dungeons and Dragons. Like I said, I think it's the creativity. I've got about 6 characters that I've made over the years. I've probably read this thing front to back, like easily over 10 times. Same thing, the Monster Manual, 50 times probably. I love things like that. Like, it kind of stems off of, like, when I was a kid, I would beg my mom for the Pokemon strategy guides. Not because I wanted to get ahead or anything like that, like do better, but simply because I loved the back of those books and how they would tell you like little facts and stats and move sets and all that about the Pokemon, and I would read those front to back hundreds of times, and I would just search through them and look. And then I also used to use those books to find like secrets and things like that when I was a kid, because I always have been, continue to be, a completionist in games, and if I couldn't find something that I knew was out there, I would want to seek it out, and the strategy guides were a perfect way to do that. And then I learned how to use the GameFAQs forums, and then that was the end of that. But picking up the Monster Manual for the first time and just reading about all of the monsters and the lore and the would say that music is like top of brain all the time. Now it's probably like fourth top of brain all the time. I still think about it a lot, but I have learned, I think, in being alive for 25 years, that the things that I love are sacred to me, and that I should love them as much as possible. And I used to think like, well, I'm the music guy, or I'm the writing guy, and I felt like that kind of pigeonholed me sometimes. So now I get to be multifaceted Ryan, however I want to be. So, that being said, thank you for being here. Thank you to probably June for suggesting this. This was a very, like, it was a soul-healing kind of ramble today. I very much enjoyed talking about that kind of stuff. I didn't think that I'd be talking about Montessori here either, but, you know, the things I end up talking about are kind of a mystery until the camera's on.